Well, joining me now from Ankara is a member of parliament from the AK party, Akif Cagatay Kilic. With me in the studio is the deputy chairman of the MHP, Kamil Aydin, and alongside him is the former deputy chairman of the opposition CHP, Faruk Logoglu. Gentlemen, a great pleasure having all of you on the Newsmakers. Faruk Logoglu, let me start with you. As the relative outsider in this particular discussion, let me ask you if the events of the past week or so have meant to you that there's a crack in the partnership between AK Party and MHP?
Yes, I think there is a crack, and it's not very surprising because the difference is between parliamentary elections, general elections, and this time it's local elections. The purpose of the partnership before the parliamentary elections was to get into the parliament, and it worked. To that end, it did work. But now you cannot divide the local prizes. I mean, either you win or you lose.
Do you feel they were unnatural allies to begin with?
I think it's a part of the fact of the reality of local elections itself. I think the alliance between MHP and AKP was real enough, and it isn't completely broken down. But I think, as I say, local elections is a different matter. I mean, there cannot be two candidates vying for the same position, and that's why I think there has been a natural parting of ways between the two allied parties.
Interesting. So, Dr. Kamil Aydin, when a lot of us read and heard what Devlet Bahçeli had said when he said we no longer expect, seek or plan any alliance in the local elections in next March, and we had the different points of division being sort of expressed over the past few days, a lot of people were surprised, and a lot of people see it as the beginning of possibly the end of the relationship with the AKP. Is that the way you see it?
Not really. You know, it's unfair to name it as a kind of crack. No, I mean, in order to answer this question, I think we should go back to the early days when we decided to form a kind of, people's alliance. After the devoted coup attempt by FETÖ, we come together and try to listen to the people shouting outside for getting rid of this kind of terrorist attacks. And we had to, at that time, we had to listen to them. And then on the basis of this alliance, there is a kind of demand coming from the people themselves. And the people of Turkey, required us to come together and try to struggle against any kind of outside or inside terrorist attacks. And still, we are very stick to the spirit of Yeni Kapı, which is the core of alliance. And we are still stick to that alliance notion, and we should keep going on that. But local elections is a different issue, because it is that difficult to say the same thing for local elections. Because as MHP, our priorities are always on the side of people and the good of nation. And we made a small gesture to AKP, and we said, we are now trying a new system, presidential system, and it should be very consistent. In order to keep it going, we should, I think we should not destroy the alliance. And as far as the big metropolitan cities are concerned, we said we should be very careful. Right. Why? Because if you lose any of these municipal elections in those cities, then people can easily start discussing the availability of the new system. Right. MHP is very keen on, the continuation of this alliance and the continuation of the new system.
Okay, and I want to get into some of the points of division. One is the prisoner amnesty issue, and the other one is the pledge in a couple moments. But first, big picture, Akif Cagatay Kilic. The People's Alliance is around, it's still standing, it's still solid. This is governing, ruling coalition. But is it under threat? Is this the first signs of it being under threat?
Well, first of all, I would like to also concur with Mr. Aydin. This is an alliance and a partnership which was brought about by the people. The people are demanding that we work together for the good of the nation, and the people are demanding that we work together in order to get rid of these terrorist elements that have caused the 15th of July coup attempt. As far as that is concerned, I think we are in complete understanding and agreement that we have to work together to resolve these issues, and I don't see any division on that point. So calling it a crack within the alliance or the partnership, I think is not the correct explanation of things that are happening. There will be differences in minds, in ideas, and some differences on the views and maybe in the way which they are approached. But a local election, a general election, are also two different things. There might be some things that political parties which are in an alliance want to do differently. As President Erdogan pointed out, we have two separate parties which have separate programs, but also want to steer in the same direction regarding governing and also regarding serving the people. So I don't think that there is a crack or a difference in the idea of the alliance, but there are different views on certain issues, and that is all that we're talking about. And politics, as all of our political colleagues know, is the art of working together and finding common ground. And I think this is quite well working between the MHP and AK Party. So I think we will be not discussing our differences, but we'll be joining forces in order to further our working relationship and further our aims that we want to achieve.
Yeah, and Mr. Kilic, was the message, despite the fact that you're calling for unity and a lot of MPs are highlighting the positives rather than the negatives and the points of unity over the points of division, has the message from the MHP been over the past few weeks, we helped you, AK Party, get over the finish line, now we need more from you, now we want more from you, now we want to see more of our own imprint on how to run Turkish society?
I think when you label it or when you say the negative things or the things that we don't want to talk about in public, that is the first thing that maybe the people or maybe people who are discussing this don't understand the nature of the alliance and the partnership. We are fully committed with our colleagues from the MHP and also within AK Party that we want to achieve these goals. Okay, there is, and I don't have, to be honest with you, and this is my personal view here, I have never felt in any way the idea that you mentioned that the MHP helped us in any way, that we helped them. This is a partnership. This is an understanding of principles, if you will. This is an understanding of what the people want from us. Like I said, local elections and general elections are two different things. There might be different ideas on how to go about the local election, and that is what has been touched upon by the two leaders, be it Mr. Devlet Bahçeli and also President Erdogan. They have very openly said, on this issue, there are certain things that we want to do differently, and that's why we are going to go about this business in this manner, rather than like in the general election. But the technicality of things is also playing a part in this. I don't think it's not the idea or the perception by any MHP members. At least I have not been feeling like this or have not been approached like this in any way. This is a partnership. This is an alliance. Even further than a partnership, it's an alliance. And in the alliance, everybody is playing their role and trying to achieve this.
Faruk Logoglu, the CHP and EE party, how would they be viewing it right now? Do they sense opportunity or not?
Well, I think both parties, especially CHP, is looking forward to winning in the major cities. And I think given what has been happening in Turkey in the last 5-10 years, there is an accumulated minuses on the side of, I think, the ruling party. And while what was expected did not happen in the general elections, I think the opposition parties, especially CHP, is looking for some big gains this time. But I just want to say something in connection to what has been said so far. In Turkish political culture, there is a very strong reluctance to call a spade a spade. There are differences between MHP and AKP. And I think these differences will become more pronounced as we approach
Right.
the actual time of local elections. This is not a bad thing.
Right. Let me bring up two
Yeah.
of the spades, right? So one of them, I guess if I could label it, would be a difference over what justice means, right? So with the prisoner amnesty. So you correct me if I'm wrong, Kamil Aydin, so MHP draft a bill, amnesty except for things related to terrorism, sex crimes, insulting the state, Ataturk and so on, right? And the AK party looks at it, President Erdogan looks at it and says, well, you want to pardon 50,000 drug criminals because you haven't included them in your exceptions. That's a pretty big thing in terms of justice, right? Justice is a big issue in this country. Is that ever going to be a point of unity? Are you ever going to get on the same page on that?
Yes, I think prior to answering this question, I think I would like to say something about the questions directed to both of the speakers. You know, political parties naturally have different ideas and, you know, principles, of course. And before the election, we are going to the people and trying to you know, talk about ourselves and talk about our future plans. And of course, proposals. And one of our proposals was about it is not, honestly, you know, this is a kind of mislabeled, you know, the concept. Everybody is talking about the amnesty. It is not an amnesty that we are going to produce, you know, as a bill into the parliament. You know why? Because we are, as a political party, long-standing, one of the oldest party, MHP, you know, has promised people, you know, to prepare a kind of bill which is offering a kind of reduction of the punishment and conditional reduction of punishment. It is not the general amnesty. You know, I think this first thing should be understood very well by everybody else. And on the other hand, MHP, you know, it is not fair to identify MHP with the, you know, drug dealers and some other, you know, criminals. No, we are very keen on, while we were preparing this bill, we said, yes, this is very conditional. But on the other hand, we know, you know, the ill conditions of the prisons. And I don't think it's going to happen, but it might anytime, you know, because Turkey is stranded a bit. And if there is a kind of upheaval outside, so who is going to pay the bill then, you know? And politically, we can think differently, and we can produce bills differently as well, in accordance with our principles.
Is it an issue that is worth losing the relationship
over? It might be acceptable or not,
right?
But we are going to be very keen on this. Yes.
Is it worth losing the relationship over that?
No, I don't think so. Why? Because we are two different parties, as two other speakers already mentioned about it. You know?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, Akif, I mentioned justice. There's also another big question about, I guess, what it means to be Turkish. The pledge, usually, you know, said by school children in the morning at school. It used to be said. It was taken off the table. It's been reinstated, and our party is not for it. Tell me briefly firstly why you're not for it, because the pledge, you know, includes the words, I am a Turk, honest and hardworking, and it ends with, may my existence be dedicated to the existence of Turks. How happy is the one who says, I am a Turk, ne mutlu Türk'üm diyene. Tell me why AK Party doesn't want that to be mandated every day for children to say at school.
First of all, today is the 30th. Yesterday was the 29th of October, which was our 95th anniversary of the founding of the Turkish Republic. And with that in mind, I would also like to tell our friends and our viewers that our republic is entering now its nearly 100th year. And what we have achieved since the founding of the republic is due to the work and the ethics of the people, and what the people have achieved, what they've put into this republic that was founded in 1923 by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. And we are striving to become an even stronger republic than we are today. One of the examples that was done yesterday was the opening of the new Istanbul airport, which was named Istanbul. And this is a monument to the strength and to what the republic has achieved, the Turkish Republic has achieved since its founding. Again, we believe that in our education system, and this was also mentioned recently, in the education system, our children, our youth, our future should be taught to be proud of themselves, to achieve greater things in the future, and to work for this needlessly and without even giving a breath's idea to it. So continuous work towards achieving greater things. There is Our idea is there's a difference in how to go about certain things. And the question about that you mentioned is more a judicial question, and where the judiciary is actually going to have its, I wouldn't say limits, but what is the judiciary's area in work? Because the decision to amend or change educational material, be it in any way in schools or wherever, is within the jurisdiction of the ministry and the government. The judiciary here has taken, in our view, has taken here a step which is overstepping its judicial boundaries. And again, there might be different views on this, but we have time and time put forward, again, that we are proud to be Turkish and members of this great nation. And everybody should be, because we are achieving great things, and we will achieve greater things. It's just a difference on how, in technical terms, our judicial court has taken a decision on this. So nobody is saying we should not be proud of being Turkish or feel ourselves Turkish.
Okay, so let me take that. Okay, so let me direct that.
16 years since our party is in power, we're always saying this.
Okay, so Kamil Aydin, so let me take that, because one of the arguments is that with the MHP, there's a more narrow nationalism, and even though there's nothing wrong with the words per se, but it could be exclusionary. So if you are ethnically Kurdish, for example, you could feel less Turkish because you have to say this every day. And there are historic reasons as well, because it was used in many ways to, I guess, make people not feel as Turkish as other people, right? So would you accept that argument that maybe it's time to not bring that back?
I think sociologically and epistemologically it is wrong to say that, you know, it's a kind of narrow. No, I mean, MHP has got a very large concept of nationalism because you know, it's already put into our constitution. You know, the definition of being a Turk is already under the guarantee of the constitution. You know, whoever has got the right to live in this geography can call himself as a Turk. You know, by saying this, MHP has more or less the same thing. You know, we do not refer to any ethnic background, any biological or historical background. You know, we say that who call himself as a Turk, you know, is Turk. We don't have the right to question about this. And the pledges, when we come to the pledges, we were grown up with the pledges, with those pledges, you know. And we were not just one typical form of human being. No, we separated from each other. And now in the parliament, you know, as indicated by some others, we are not one military, you know, form of human being existing in the parliament. No, we have got more than 7 different ideologically supported political parties in the parliament. We are different anyway. But as far as pledges are concerned, you know, we can start from the small group, NGOs, you know, groups, schools, institutions, and the nations as well, have some pledges, marches, anthems, songs even. And it doesn't mean that, you know, when you repeat that pledge, you know, somebody is pushing you ethnically. No.
It's not at the expense of anybody else.
Nobody is pushed in the States. Nobody is pushed in England. Nobody is pushed in Germany, in any Western country. Why we are discussing, you know, this is honestly unacceptable. Why, when it comes to Turkey, everybody is discussing the ethnic background of these pledges? No, there is nothing wrong with these ethnic identities. Of course, they are our riches. Of course, we accept them. But the pledge, you know, think about the pledge of Fenerbahce Football Club, you know. When a footballer plays for Fenerbahce, then it was transferred to another team. No, I am not happy with that new pledge.
Well, the Fenerbahce players are not singing that pledge quite so strongly in the past few weeks.
But they cannot refuse it anyway.
Understood. Yes. I've got to move on. But listen, in the coming months, we're going to have more of these mini discussions and have a more granular look at Turkish democracy in the build-up to the local elections. I think it's been really good to have this chat with all of you, Akif, Cagatay, Kilic, Kamil Aydin, and Faruk Logoglu. Thank you very much for joining us once more on the Newsmakers.